Hi there folks, it's Deni. Sometimes we want to be by ourselves and try something with a good story instead of playing online games with other people. Online games are fun and cool and all that, but what if your friends are busy and can't play with you, or you just want to have some time alone? Well, if any of that is true for you, then sit back. Today I'm going to show you some awesome single-player games that are sure to make you want to try them. But before we begin, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe if you are new to the channel. Okay, let's get started. Today we'll start with the download record holder, Sons of the Forest. Over 2 million people bought this game on its first release day. Well, if there are those who haven't heard of it yet, let me tell you what it is about. It's a survival horror game that takes on the story of the first game, The Forest. Here we will also be exploring a mysterious island, but this time the main character is a soldier and his helicopter crashed. As for the gameplay, well, it's similar to the first game. You'll need to look for food, find different useful stuff, build your hideout, fight against bloody thirsty locals and enjoy the beautiful forest landscapes. Speaking of new features, your character is well acquainted with firearms and has excellent melee skills. So, as you may have already guessed, the gameplay here will be much more dynamic than it was before. Oh yes, the story? Well, I won't spoil it, but I'm sure you won't be disappointed with this one. Next up we have The Pale Beyond. This is a kind of visual novel with some survival elements, and it tells us about the Arctic explorers' adventures. Let's talk a little bit about the story. A few years ago, the Viscount ship went to search for the absolute south, but failed and never came back. No one has yet been able to go so far as to find the missing ship, but the Temperance ship's captain won't give up. He recruits a team of like-minded adventurers and sets off to find the lost ship using the same route. However, one night the research head mysteriously disappears and our protagonist is appointed leader until the circumstances are clarified. And now you, will not only have to finish the mission he started and find that ship, but also make sure that every crew member is safe and find your disappeared captain. The adventure promises to be exciting, huh? Well, I think you should check it out for yourself. You miss Cyberpunk? Well, you can dive into the future world once again and want it dead. It is a really exciting action game with a dynamic combat system and a rather interesting storyline. It shows us a week from the life of special unit that has settled down in the alternative Hong Kong. The head of the unit, Hannah Stone, and her squad plan to uncover a major corporate conspiracy. But, well, it didn't quite go as planned. As for gameplay, it's kind of a mix of first-person shooter and slasher. Basically, this game is pretty hardcore due to the constantly increasing difficulty and new enemies being added at each stage. The battles are quite challenging. Besides the ordinary enemies, there are also strong bosses. What's more, our character has about 50 impressive finishing moves, a sort of fatality. Overall, the game looks and feels really badass. Well, if you want to go back in time instead of fighting in a future world, I've got company of Warhammer III for you. It's a tactical World War II strategy game with a bunch of different missions and quests, mods and much more. Here we have the most ambitious single-player campaign with sandbox elements. You are a general who controls the whole battle process, and you are also a strategist who tries to defeat the enemy smart smartly and cunningly. And to do this, you have to establish crucial supply lines and engage not only in ground battles, but also sea and air strikes. You'll need to make special tactics in each battle to get the most out of it. During the combat, you can even take a tactical pause to think over your next moves. So, if you have been longing to be a commander-in-chief, then this game is exactly for you. And coming up next, we have another awesome game, the Dead Space remake. If you haven't seen the original game, I'll show you what it is about. It is a sci-fi horror and a third-person shooter game that takes you to a distant space and you have to fight monsters. The story tells us about space engineer Isaac Clarke, who has been sent to the Ishimura ship to find out why it is not responding to messages and heading to the middle of nowhere. When Isaac arrives on the ship, all he finds is, well, devastation and a bunch of monsters that immediately attack him. Well, that's the story. And yeah, speaking of the game features, despite the fact that all the action takes place on a spaceship in a confined space, it won't be small at all. Oh, and this game is really scary as well, so, well, be prepared. Well, I'm sure there are some of you who wish to play the Uncharted games but didn't get a chance since they were a PlayStation exclusive. Well, now it's your time. Uncharted Legacy of this collection is finally available for Windows. It's a collector's edition with two games at once, A Thief's End and The Lost Legacy. Well, let's talk a little bit about the story. In A Thief's End, you are going to control Nathan Drake. He and his suddenly appeared brother decided to go to the forest of Madagascar to find the treasure that has been thought to be a myth for ages. In The Lost Legacy, you will no longer enjoy Nathan's company, but instead you and his girlfriend Chloe Fraser will go on a journey deep into the Indian Ghats to find the legendary golden tusk of Ganesha. Both games are pretty similar in gameplay, a third-person view, traveling through uncharted terrain, shooting enemies, solving puzzles, crawling through walls, and lots of other interesting stuff. If your soul harbors a hunter, then you should definitely try Way of the Hunter. It's a hunting simulator, and this game has taken this whole genre to a completely different level. Well, here you are a stuntman from Los Angeles. You are asked to help your grandfather with the hunting, and now you will have his cozy cabin in a picturesque valley with lots of wild animals at your disposal here. The open world here is huge, really, it's like a giant. You will be able to move freely through it both on foot and by vehicle. The gameplay here is quite flexible and goes from relaxed to dynamic and quite intense. Well, it all depends on you. You can focus on exploring the world and completing missions, or you can hunt predators for trophies, and then sell your loot and use the proceeds to upgrade your equipment, buy new firearms, special suits, and so on. I get lost inside my thoughts and if you haven't decided whether you want to play games or watch a movie, you can do both at once in The Quarry. It's a horror game where every decision you make has consequences that can even affect the lives of the characters. The story unfolds at Hackett's Quarry, a summer camp for teenagers. However, not everything here is as rosy as it should be. The characters are hunted by bloody thirsty maniacs and creepy monsters lurking in the night. Speaking of characters, there are several of them: Chris, Abigail, Keaton, Nick, Emma, and others. With them you will test your reaction in dynamic QTI scenes and prove your social skills while interacting with others. Well, sometimes you can just be silent, it's probably even better that way. Sometimes... Oh, and one more thing. There are several endings. 168 to be exact. Yes, you heard right, not counting the extra secret sense. So then it comes to the story, there is absolutely nothing to worry about. Let's take a look at one more strategy game, Total War Warhammer III. The game is set in the Warhammer fantasy universe, then the beer god Ursun is captured by the demon prince of Chaos Belacor, and the northern country is plunged into the eternal winter. Each of the factions have their own reasons for going after Ursun, and you have to choose one of them and go on your way. Like the previous games, in this series, the gameplay here consists of two modes: global turn-based strategy of the map and real-time strategy during the battle. Strategy mode is available during the campaign. This is where you move armies around the map, manage settlements, engaged in diplomacy, and so on. As for the battles, you basically just fight hordes of enemies in tough battles. So there are more than enough options here. One more game is Jurassic World Evolution. It's a simulator where you can create your own dinosaurs theme park, take over the legendary Muertes archipelago, and become one of the discoverers of new dinosaur species. Basically, yeah, your main goal here is to create Jurassic Park from the movie series of the same name. Here you will race dinosaurs, build rides, snack bars, service stations, and much more. You won't have many resources at your disposal at the beginning, just one island, Isla Matanceros. This is where you will build your first park, which will welcome visitors from all over the world, in order to, well, make a lot of money. And when you've saved enough, you can buy another island, and then another, and so on. By the way, there is like an Easter egg for those who have seen the film adaptation Isla Nublar Island, the one from the movie. Anyway, go for it. Let's check out another movie-like game that used to be a PlayStation exclusive. It tells the story of Ethan Mars, an ordinary architect who lost everything he held dear. He lost his son, divorced his wife, dropped his job, and on top of that he suffers from memory lapses. And this is not the end. He is about to meet the origami master. This freak drones children when it rains and leaves an origami figure at each crime scene. By the way, Ethan is not the only playable character here. There is a detective, an FBI agent, and a journalist, but they are something like minor characters. All the most important decisions will be made by Ethan. As for the gameplay, well, it's pretty easy and mostly based on QTA sense, dialogues and exploring locations in search of stuff. And yeah, of course, all your decisions and action will have consequences, so think twice before making an important choice. In a previous video, I told you about games with a co-op mod and said that Hogwarts Legacy sadly doesn't have one yet. So what does that mean? It means it's a perfect choice for today's video. This is a brand new RPG in the Harry Potter universe that will allow us to visit the legendary Hogwarts. Yep, he will be a mage student who has been accepted to a higher institution of magic, and now you have the opportunity to participate in student activities, build relationships with your classmates, and sometimes even fight evil monsters. To be more precise, very rarely. You will meet villains you already know from the film adaptation. I'm sure you've definitely wanted to use the killing spell on some of them, and he will be able to do it. The game is very, how to say, authentic, so Harry Potter fans will definitely love it. I don't often pick SOT simulators for my videos, but today we will make an exception for Undisputed. It's a boxing simulator focusing on realism. You will have to create your own fighter, who will go from amateur matches to the professional stage, trying to reach your main goal, to get the title of world champion. To do this, you will have to constantly hone your skills, learn new techniques, and choose the right strategies during the fight. Well, it all depends on you. You can either meticulously adjust your strategy to each opponent and not take chances, or you can go for broke and show your full potential and strength in every battle. It is also worth mentioning that some of your future success will depend not only on your performance in the ride, but also on your decisions in the breaks between the rounds. In general, you need not only use your fists, but also think about the consequences of your actions. Sounds interesting, doesn't it? And next we have Voidtrain, and it's a new and a very unusual open world survival game. Here you find yourself in a rather odd world, and now you have to take a train and explore this mysterious place. Well, the usual laws of physics don't apply here, but this place is inhabited by all sorts of creepy creatures. You will control the engineers who were removing the debris of war-ravaged laboratory in Königsberg, and found secret documents of Nazis, revealing the secret research which will eventually lead you to the portal to the other world, a parallel reality full of all kinds of curiosities, puzzles, mysteries and entertaining challenges. It's an open world, really open. You can walk literally everywhere. Sometimes you will even have to travel several times to solve some mystery, but trust me, it's worth it. Well, the video is coming to an end, so let's take a final look at the Settlers' new alias. It is a strategic simulation of building cities and colonies. After a great cataclysm, people lost their home and were forced to roam to safer places to live. And now it's up to us to take control of the settlers and build a new home for them. There are 3 unique factions available to you to choose from: Hilary, Maru and Jordan. Each of them has their own unique buildings and units too, as well as their own individual storylines and backstories. I will say that the color scheme is very nice and well designed, and the soundtrack is just something else. So be sure you will definitely get the atmosphere of this game. Well, that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed this video and found something interesting, and if so, leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. It's been Deni, see ya guys soon.